Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you have been here before. This is the channel where I look at Pokemon cards, primarily focusing on the artwork, although that's not really the focus of today. I'm feeling very unfocused today, and I want to make a Pokemon video to distract my mind. So I thought, what could I do? Well, I was talking last night about this card. So I thought what I'm going to do is do one of my 4K looks at an old set. Although I've done a video about EX Dragon before, which is somewhere on my channel. It's about 4 years old. It's not very good. It's okay, but you know, it's got the information about the set and the quirks and it's more of an information video. I watched it back this morning, and it's very Mitsuhiro Arita centric in my focus, but forgive me for that. So what I actually just want to do is do a slightly different take on EX Dragon, which is something I do from time to time with old sets. I do the dreaded looking at cards that I've had in my collection for over 20 years and just checking that I have looked after them and they're not covered in scratches, which is a kind of a gamble because ignorance is blissful. If you can just pretend that your cards are in mint condition until you know otherwise. But I hope, as I say, it's a gamble. The reason there are gaps, by the way, this is the reason why there are gaps there, because all my Arita cards go over into my Arita file. So the cards from this set, which are, it's just this page, are over in here rather than over in here. I only got one copy, unfortunately, at the time of most of the things, so that was not very well thought out. So I'll look at we'll look at something random to start with. We'll look at Torkoal Hollow. So this is just a regular hollow. It's not, it's a nice piece of artwork by Kakamaru Himeno. And as I say, I got all these back in the day. And I've tried my best to look after them. So is the 4K picking up anything? I don't know. I honestly can't say. Maybe the light isn't perfect, but let's have a look at the back and corners and see what we've got here. Yeah, there's a sort of suggestion of white on that corner. Depends on the light. You've got to always remember when you don't have to remember. That's for me. I've got to always remember that when I'm doing these videos, it's in front of a window that's over there. So the light source is coming from here, and it often will pick up the edge of the card, especially on foil cards where the foil layer is in the card. But that's not actually a fair representation. But there is clearly a dot issue there on this corner. Other than that, it's in pretty good condition. I'll put it back in this penny sleeve, and maybe I should change. I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered. It will hopefully be fine in the penny sleeve. So let's look at the big three cards, let's look at one other before we look at TV Reporter reverse. Let's look at another reverse. Let's look at this camera up over here, because these mirror foils, there's nowhere to hide a scratch. So if it's scratched, and it shows. So they are hard to keep in this condition, but they are also spectacular. They sort of glow. So let us have a little look at. You see, that looks pretty clean. I'm not looking through the camera. I'm looking past the camera in with my eyes rather than on the screen. I mean, there's nothing obvious there. There's a few microscopic speckles where the process of the foiling and stuff hasn't quite taken, but they are tiny. And there's a sort of white dot in the blue up here. You can see that. Again, that's a printing thing. But whether it's damaged, I don't see anything that shows as wear on that card. It looks mint to me. It would have a shot at PSA 10, but they can be stingy, I think, PSA. Not that I'm going to ever grade these, but I'm just trying to do the what if I got it graded. What if? It's well centered enough, perhaps a little bit thicker on the right rather than the left, but it's not noticeably really. And, you know, it's a nice condition card. So that's an example of a mirror foil. Let's do the three big cards then, which are this one, I guess. Well, actually, these are pretty big. This one is pretty big. These are the rookie cards of Latios and Latios. So, and the rookie, you know, all these are rookie cards because this was the first set that Gen 3, or it was the third set of the Gen 3 block. So they're the first appearances of a lot of Pokemon. And this is the dragon set, so you've got all the dragons. Okay, we're going to look at the Rayquaza. It's an artwork I do not like. It's Hikaru Koike. Yes, Hikaru Koike doing the artwork. I think it's a pretty awful representation of Rayquaza. Or maybe I'm being a bit harsh. I don't know. Let me just check my hands are clean. I think so. Let me bring the camera in. Put that gently down there. I'm going to bring the camera in, so sorry for the judder. What I will do is press that button. Hang on. There we go. There we go. There we go. So we should see this better. I'm reluctant to actually touch it, but let's bring it out of the plastic a little bit. I do not see anything on the hollow surface. Looks pretty clean to me. We'll turn it over carefully and have a look at the corners. There's a white speck in the printing there. Can you see that? Just that white dot. Oh no, it comes off. Okay, that's good. Wasn't in the printing. It was actually a piece of dust. Let me just look at the surface with the light shining on it. Yeah, I don't see anything there. I'm not going to take the card all the way out. I don't see anything there. That has a shot at PSA 10. I really don't see. Let's just check the centering. It's very slightly broader on the right, perhaps, but it's very, very slight. That's well centered. No scratches. I don't see why that's not a PSA 10. It's pretty flawless. So I've done well to keep that over the years. I think actually, given it's in such good condition, bear with me. I'm actually going to rehome it. I'm going to put it into a top loader with a sleeve around it. So I think it shouldn't be in a file. It should. It could live in a top loader and then covered again with another layer of plastic. So I'm going to put that in there. Okay, and I've got a sleeve around this, so that's a bit big, but it'll do for now. I'll try and find a better fitting one later, but that's going to keep it safe because that looks like it's in a good condition, so I will keep it. no, I'm not going to look at those because otherwise this video will go on forever, and I don't want to do that. So let me get out this one. Bear with me. I think I'm doing a stupid thing by having it in a clamshell hard case. It's also in a perfect fit. Maybe that also is a poor decision. Yeah, I think it's a poor decision. So what I'm going to do is take this out. Let me get this ready. I'm going to find myself a brand new penny sleeve. I might do the same for the TV reporter, which is, oh geez, is there. Let me just, I am here, I'm just looking. Yeah, we'll use one of these. These are nice. So I'll put it into here, and then I will, but in a penny sleeve. I don't really want it in this perfect fit because there's potential for a little bit of pressure on the sides, and also when you take it out, you have to put a little bit of pressure on the top to force it out of a perfect fit. So yeah, if it's a valuable card and you know it's currently in good condition, it's probably best to put a little bit of effort in to keep it in that state, because once it's got damage or wear or whatever, there's a little sort of smudginess there. Let me just, I'm very reluctant to do that. I'm not going to touch that. That might, I don't know if you can see that, but there's sort of a suggestion of, it could be hollow bleed. I don't know. It's got that look of a couple of dots of hollow bleed. But the surface, I think looks pretty good. Okay. Centering obviously thicker on that side than this side, so that's probably going to hold it back a little bit. Again, there's a sort of whitish dot. See if it's, yeah, I'm not sure whether that is, no, that looks like dirt or something. It may clean off if I gently rub it with a cotton bud or something. Yeah, so this is not a PSA 10. The corners are pretty good. Pretty good. But, you know, it's a card for my Arita collection, therefore it's not one that I'm going to sell ever or grade. So it doesn't, hypothetically, it doesn't need to be anything but what it is as a beautiful part of my Arita collection. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to, for the time being, put it in this red edge top loader, and I will find a better fitting outer bag to go around the whole thing and keep any further dust out. But there's a couple of little points there. So there's just here and probably here the mark. This is all on. Oh, that's in the fucking top loader. So hang on, can't have a bit of dust in the top loader like that. It is outside the penny sleeve, but there's a. Dust is such a bugger. It gets everywhere. And I'm very, very hairy as well, and I shed hairs from all over, so it's very difficult to keep microscopic little body hairs and things out of my collection. That's, you didn't need to know the details. I'm just telling you the truth. So that's a nice little card. I think it's a very beautiful card. It's my favourite Arita Charizard. Yeah, it's just very dramatic. Bit more Dungeons and Dragons-y than Pokemon, but that's okay. I will allow it in this instance. Now this one, this is why we were, oh Lord. Now as I said on Twitter, we may not have seen Twitter, not everyone follows me on Twitter, but this is the rarest reverse holo in the history of Pokemon, sets at least. I mean, I haven't put my mind to thinking if there's a reverse holo promo somewhere that would outrank this. But there was a problem when this card was produced, that the factory either lost or failed to produce a large number of them. It's the last reverse holo in the set. It's number 88 of 97, but 89 onwards are EXs that don't have reverse. So when they were cutting the sheets of reverse holos, these mirror foils. This would have been the last one. Now, why they lost them, I don't know. But I've been aware of this almost since the release of the set. Oh, there's a bit of dust in there on the card. Oh, geez, hang on. Get it off without... Yeah, oh, geez. That's why we do these videos. There was a little bit of something. But I was aware of this when the card came out, or just after, that there was something wrong, and then I realised that there was a short printing or something, and it's become folklore now. I can see there's a little tiny micro scratch about 1.5 millimeters long just there, and there's another one on the yellow edge there. Anyway, I'll come back to that because we're going to look at it thoroughly. But the history of the card is there isn't very many of these. There's probably about only 5% or less of what should be available, and it's the set is not a heavily printed set. It was at a point in Pokemon's history when cards were not being printed en masse. They weren't selling particularly well, so this is an incredibly scarce card. I bought it at the time when the set was the new set, and I think I paid about 10p for it. But I remember being very excited because the seller had 3 copies of it, and I could have bought all 3. I should have bought all 3. Well, no, I shouldn't, because that's against my ethics. There were 3. I knew I was in touch with a couple of other collectors at the time who were internet friends, who were also looking for sort of similar cards, and I let them know that this seller had copies. I bought one. I told them to go and get the other ones, and I think that's what happened. That's my vague recollection. That's why I didn't buy all of them, because I wanted somebody else to have a chance to complete their set, although I haven't got a complete set of reverse foils of this set for some reason. Anyway, that's the story. It's a long, long time ago, and it really doesn't matter. But I just got the 1 copy, and this is what I have. It's not going to be a PSA 10 because there are those little, they're not really scratches, they're just omissions to the layer that covers the holofoil. So you've got holofoil coming through at these little dots. There are some micro little dots, again, missing holo, speckled across the top in that bar beside the words TV reporter. Let's see if you can pick that up. I'm not sure. I think the camera does pick that up, but it's sort of like just random little spots of omission. I'm going to tip it. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. I would give that a PSA 9, I think. Even with those 2 little... I mean, you do have to... You will see it if you... Yeah, it's picking those up. So there's one here on the edge and one just below her microphone there. But it's an interesting card, this it's got a sort of mythical status. And one of them sold in PSA 10, either last month or the month before, for almost $15,000 or something, or £11,500 in PSA 10. And this isn't a PSA 10, but even in a PSA 9, or if it's a PSA 8, it won't be lower than a PSA 8. But it's still, an expensive card to, if I had to replace it, which I hope I never do. Well, I won't. I'm just going to get a new penny sleeve, and I'm going to put it into a different protection. So, nice bit of Sugimori artwork. Probably would have been a moderately forgettable card if not for this weird lore that it has. The Loudred hiding behind the cameraman. Interesting card. So that's a little look at some singles from... I think the Rayquaza was in the best condition. The Charizard needs a little bit of work maybe, but I think that's PSA 9 probably. And this is probably a PSA 9 maybe. Who cares? And we won't ever know because they're never going to get graded. Well, they're not going to get graded in my lifetime. They're just nice little things to have in my collection. I do love this set. It's in my top 10 sets of all time. Really, really fond of this set. And I love this whole period. That's why, my EX collections are all very dear to my heart. And this is a lovely, you know, the simplicity of mirror foils that are just plain and have that glow is so special. So there you go. That's me trying to just fill my day up and concentrate on something to get my mind off what it's actually thinking about.